Hi YouTube, Fiona Corwin here. Tonight I want to talk to you about fear and the stories that we write and live into that really hold us in fear, that trap us from moving forward. When I chose to transition in October of 2012, I lived with the fear prior to that for 40 years of what it would look like to transition. I knew that if I transitioned, I just knew in my gut that I would lose the people in my life that I cared about, my babies, my wife, my ex-wife, my mom, my dad, the whole thing. I knew that all of that would be lost to me, and the cost I estimated to be way too high. And so I chose never to transition somewhere in my 20s. The trade-off to that is that I lived in fear. I was a slave to fear. I didn't transition. Thankfully, in August of 2012, I had a thing happen and I grew breasts and I had night sweats and hot flashes for about 6 weeks. And it pushed all of my gender dysphoria back up for me to look at for the first time in a while. I'd sort of developed ways to keep it at bay and keep it out of my space. And I'm glad it did, because it really forced me to see that this wasn't going away, that I couldn't bury it, that I couldn't hide it, that I'm a woman, and that's not something to be ashamed of. Trans is so often viewed as something to be ashamed of by us, by trans people, not just the people outside the world, in the world rather. And I want to say that just because it's important to take the word back, right? Why would we be ashamed of being who we are? We are who we are. It's not like we can change it. It just is. We are this. So, in choosing to transition, I had to talk to people. And in the case of my transition, I spoke to my wife first, and I wanted to make sure that she was going to be okay with this. I did a lot of equivocating. I was like, well, she saw through all of that. And much to my surprise, she loved me through all of that. She was amazing. Um, Prior to that, if we go back even to March of 2013, I was 305 pounds. Me. 305. I'm 166 pounds today. And I have to tell you that I was afraid, because the only thing I enjoyed in those days, living as a man, was food. And my plan was just to keep enjoying that until life was over. I expected sometime in my 50s, and at least I'd die happily eating food. Somewhere along the line, my wife convinced me that she didn't want to lose me in my 50s, that was not something that she was willing to put up with. And so I had to deal with the fear. She had a gastric bypass, and I knew that it was a risky procedure. She did, in fact, nearly die from 3 very rare complications. And it was an immensely powerful experience for both of us, in that we really got to get to the meat of our relationship, and that is that we love each other completely, that we are partners, that this world in which we live is one that we wish to deal with together. So I got through that, and I told my wife then that if I could diet and exercise and lose the weight myself, I would, and if at the end of a year I could not, I would have a surgery, stomach surgery. So after a year, I didn't make it. After 18 months, I didn't make it. And my health was beginning to fail. I developed type 2 diabetes, the whole 9 yards. So I dealt with the fear, and I said, you know what? I gave my word that if this didn't work, and I applied my effort, that I would take this other step. And that's enough for me. I was scared. I didn't want to go into the knife. I don't trust being unconscious. I don't trust being out of it. So it was very difficult. But I went through it in April of 2013. Day of surgery, I was 245 pounds today. As I said, I'm 166 pounds. That went hand in hand with my transition. In the beginning, I didn't think that I would ever come out to my family. I didn't think that I would ever come out at work. I figured I'd just be me at home. And again, that was mostly fear-based. I didn't want to risk the relationships. I didn't want to risk my income, the whole 9 yards. So I challenged those fears one at a time, person by person. I went through the whole thing as I came out. And I guess what I want to share with you is that each and every time you challenge a fear that you have, you find a piece of yourself, a little golden nugget of you that you didn't know was there, I promise. And those nuggets eventually sort of pile up, and it becomes more and more compulsory for you to face those fears as you go. You come to know yourself as courageous. Courage is nothing more than being afraid and doing what need be done anyway. So I invite you to test your fear. I invite you to rub up against it. I invite you to actually explore what it is that that you're afraid of. So many times it's the story about what might happen that keeps us caged. It's really not about what actually happened or what is going to happen. It's much more about our story about it. Sometimes that's rational. Sometimes safety is an issue, and I'm by no means advocating that you go up against a fear where you will be unsafe. Be safe. However, if safety is not the issue, try it. Try something that you're afraid of. Do it every day. Find something, push through it, keep going. What you'll find is that you are courageous, that you are brave, and you'll know yourself that way. But be careful. I want you to know if you take this on and if you play this game, you'll have a harder and harder time being with not stepping through that fear. So be ready to play some big games if you're going to do this, because your life will change and change in a big hurry. But if what you want is to change your life, you can do it. I did it. And I never thought, here's a story for you, I never thought that I would be a pretty woman. I figured that I waited too long to transition, that I was 40 years old, and that it just wasn't going to happen. I don't say this with any vanity, but the woman I see staring back at me from these videos and from the photos I post, she's beautiful. I like her. She's nice. She's funny. She's really fantastic. I like her a lot. And I never thought I'd say that about me, because she is me. And, ooh, tears. I didn't believe that. You know, I didn't believe that I could do this, that I would be here today making this video for you guys, you know, to encourage other people to attempt what's possible. Here I am, okay? I did this. You can do this. I say this at the end of all of my videos, and I want you to hear me and understand that there's a reason. Every moment of your life is precious, and they're just moments. There's this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And they're gone as quick as they happen. But what we have are those moments. So they're precious. To the extent that you can be in that moment, that you can love yourself in that moment, that you can be happy in that moment, your life is bliss. It's not the future, it's not the past, it's those moments. So when I say life is precious, or every moment is precious, life is beautiful, I really do mean it. In every moment, there's a piece of beauty. There's a grace that you've been extended. in this consciousness, in this life, that it's beautiful. So use it to discover how you can be of service to the world, because really, you are not small, you are not uncapable. The truth is that you are a giant, that you can stomp around and amaze people with your strength, your courage, your willingness to help. That is you, really. Um, you may or may not know it yet. For those of you who do, bravo. For those of you who don't, I invite you to challenge your fear, to try things that you're afraid to do, to actually reach out and become who you don't even know you are. One piece at a time, one day at a time. So remember, life is beautiful and every moment precious. Hug the people you love, tell them that you love them. And borrowing a line from an old friend of mine, call your mother. She misses you. That's about it, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night. Thank you.